We haven't talked about any press briefings by Joe Biden's White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, for a bit. We've been tied up with other things like COVID stimulus and much more. But I want to look at one today because it's quite interesting what's going on. First of all, this first clip is CBS reporter Weijia Zhang asking Jen Psaki to respond to claims that Joe Biden has opened the border wide open and people are just pouring in. And it wasn't happening under Donald Trump, but it is now. Now, it's really important to remember that even though Donald Trump didn't build the wall during his presidency, he would regularly claim that he built it and that the imaginary wall was responsible for record low undocumented crossings. Now, bear with me because this requires assuming multiple lies are true to understand their position. If you believe Trump that he built the wall, and of course, if you believe that Joe Biden hasn't taken down that wall, you would have to imagine that the job that the wall was doing at keeping people out when Trump was president is still keeping people out today. But the narrative has shifted into Biden has opened the border and people with diseases are pouring in, the Nazi rhetoric that we talked about earlier. And here Jen Psaki smartly goes after the idea of Americans are saying and gets reporter Weijia Zhang to admit, well, I mean, Trump is the one saying it. And Jen Psaki quickly dispenses with the nonsense.
But a lot of Americans are saying that, the surges are happening under President Biden's watch after he reversed some previous policies. So does the administration take any accountability for what's happening?
Who are the Americans?
Well, I know you don't want to answer to him, but the former president just released a statement saying that the Biden administration must act immediately to end the border nightmare that they have unleashed onto our nation.
Former President Trump?
Yes.
We don't take our advice or counsel from former President Trump on immigration policy, which was not only inhumane, but ineffective. Over the last 4 years, we're going to chart our own path forward, and that includes treating children with humanity and respect and ensuring they're safe when they cross our borders.
This is just so funny. And I'm not even really looking to criticize Weijia Zhang. I think that she's asking what are meant to be tough questions. She asks them of Kayleigh McEnany. She asks them of Jen Psaki. It's more a lesson in how vapid and politically biased these claims are, where from Trump's last day to Biden's 10th day, Republicans started wildly claiming Joe Biden has opened the border wide open. Joe Biden has dramatically changed what's going on at the border, when in fact, if there's a real critique of Joe Biden here, it's that he hasn't changed that much about what's going on at the border since taking over, despite promises to do so. We talked about that early last week. I won't rehash the entire conversation. Just a few more funny examples of hijinks at the latest press briefing. Here's a reporter asking why Joe Biden hasn't done a solo press briefing yet.
So we're 45 days into the Biden presidency, and he has yet to hold a presser. At this point in past presidencies, every president, from Reagan had addressed reporters, some of them multiple times. So why the delay, and when can we expect the president to hold a press conference?
Well, first, as all of you know, the president takes questions several times a week. He took questions actually twice yesterday, which is an opportunity for the people covering the White House to ask him about whatever news is happening on any given day. We look forward to holding a full press conference in the coming weeks before the end of the month, and we're working on setting a final date for that. And as soon as we do, we will let you all know.
I can really kind of see both sides on this. I mean, certainly presidents should be taking questions from the press. It is true that while you usually see both the president and their press secretary taking questions in the press briefing room, Biden hasn't done that yet. But Biden is holding COVID-related and other events almost daily, and he doesn't take questions at all of them, but he's taken questions a whole bunch of times in his first 6 weeks in office. Sometimes, as Jen Psaki points out, more than once in a day. Okay. I mean, the point is that the press, in the midst of what is at least for now a very popular presidency, all things considered, Biden, again, highest initial approval of any president in 30 years almost, 70% COVID relief support, etc. The press are having to sort of manufacture problems or scandals, and it's not going super well. I think that there are plenty of fair critiques they could go after, but they're going after other things. One other example, Fox News reporter stepping away briefly from the Dr. Seuss scandal, which has been 24/7 on Fox News for about a week now, to push this crisis at the border thing. And I think what Jen Psaki does well here, she doesn't do everything well, but this she did well. She refuses to escalate into the hysterical language that the reporter from Fox is baiting her with. Take a look.
Are there any discussions within the White House about reversing the policy of allowing all unaccompanied children into the United States?
No.
None at all. So I guess is the plan then to take in and safely and humanely find a home for an unlimited number of unaccompanied children?
I think this issue requires us taking a step back as human beings and as mothers, of which I am one. I know there are many in the room or many at home. These kids are coming. They are fleeing prosecution. They are fleeing difficult circumstances in their home country. When they come here, all we're talking about here is ensuring that they are treated safely. They are not trafficked. They are not sent back on a unsafe journey. That's what we're talking about. When these kids come in, it doesn't mean they are ensured that they get to stay. They go through the processing system that everyone goes through. But we want to ensure that that is done by treating them humanely and with respect. Many of them will be sent back home eventually, but we're talking about how we treat them as they come in the country.
Now, I have been critical of Joe Biden on immigration. I think his one executive order on stopping removals, which was stopped by a judge, wasn't enough. He should have done another one using a different legal rationale. I talked about that last Monday. But the hysterical critique that policy has dramatically changed in 6 weeks, resulting in people just now pouring in uncontrollably, it's silly. The projection that the Fox News reporter cites, about 110,000 or whatever that number was, we had similar projections under Trump. The point is, under Trump, what they're counting on is that under Trump, nobody who watches Fox knew that these are just the normal numbers that immigration authorities are dealing with. So when the Fox News reporter there says the expectation is 110,000 kids will come, it sounds shocking, but there's nothing particularly notable about those numbers. This is a huge country, and those are the same numbers we were seeing under Donald Trump. So we'll see if and how the tone and tenor of the briefings change over time. For now, this is what it's been like, and Jen Psaki handling it relatively well. You may not have known this, but when you see me sitting here on the show, I am often wearing shirts by a company called Teddy Stratford. I asked them to be a sponsor because they are by far my favorite shirts that I own. With almost all other slim fit button-up shirts I've worn, you get this annoying stretched out gap in the chest where the buttons are, which does not look good. But what makes Teddy Stratford shirts unique is this patented zipper that's hidden underneath the buttons, which actually prevents the chest from looking weird and stretched out like that. It looks really good. And just all around, they cut the entire shirt in a specific way that makes your upper body look a lot better. It's just a much nicer and more stylish fit than you get from other shirts. And they hand make everything with 100% Egyptian cotton and flat felled seams, which means it's going to be a lot more durable than other shirts and last a lot longer, which I really love. Go check them out at davidpakman.com/Teddy. The link is down below, and they'll give you 15% off your first order if you use the coupon code PAKMAN at checkout.